get into what is the right team structure for your business, but I promise we'll veer from that a fair amount as well. As format goes, I've got a couple things we're going to do. We'll do some quick hit questions up front. I'll dive into a few questions I had for our folks, which I'll introduce here in a moment. Then we'll give you an opportunity at the back end to ask any questions as we go. And by all means, if you have questions along the way, we'll be glad to grab them. My name is John Montier with Eaton Vance, so thank you for having us. The reason we're having this conversation today is twofold. One, you may have heard one of my colleagues yesterday, we've done a fair amount of business with the folks in this room. In fact, 80% of the 2,500 advisors in Forbes have done business with Eaton Vance just in the past 12 months alone. So we have the fortunate opportunity to work with many of you on a lot of unique cases, and part of that is leading into teams. Team structure, how do we operate with the organizations you all operate, and we have the opportunity to kind of see that from a different lens and a different perspective, so I'll try to bring that out as well today. I myself run a large team, so I'll try to get into that a little bit as we kind of relate to team management and team dynamics. I'll try to add a little bit where it's appropriate, but more importantly, we're going to hear from our esteemed colleagues here about more specifically what they're doing in their businesses. So I'm going to introduce them. I'll start with Brian here to my left, Rubenstein. So Brian is founding member of the Summa Group of Oppenheimer and Company, based out of Los Angeles. The private advisory team that provides wealth management services for affluent individuals and families, as well as owners and executives of private and public companies. Family estates, charitable entities, and some of the top tax and legal professionals who serve the business, athletic, and entertainment communities, and they live right in the entertainment world. So you'll hear a little bit of that probably pop out as we get into some of our stories. Importantly, though, from a charitable perspective, we're not going to spend a lot of time here, but Brian's done an incredible amount of work just as a separate accolade. Over 20 years of serving at-risk youth, serving as a board member for one organization, starting his own, and then starting a third to serve the community of at-risk individuals. So maybe we have an opportunity. We'll pick into that as it relates to how you create the opportunity and capacity to do that in addition to running a large practice. Chris Cook, thank you, Chris. Chris was a late addition. Our unfortunate member we had originally broke his leg last week on the ice and the nasty weather that came through. And Chris very graciously jumped on board at the last minute, so thank you, Chris, for doing it. Chris is with Merrill Lynch, started in 1992, as the founder and leader of the GCCA Group in Florham Park, New Jersey. Him and his team work closely with a limited number of affluent individuals and families to help them make sound financial decisions based on their unique circumstances and goals. He's been named to Forbes Top Wealth Advisors for the past 3 years, and since 2009, he's been on the Barron's Top 1200, ranking a #1 Merrill Lynch advisor 18, 16, and 14 in New Jersey. So congratulations on that as well. So two great partners, a lot of interesting anecdotes as it relates to the team we'll get into. But the way I start these is always fun, is I'll call it the Mad Minute. I'm going to ask them a series of rapid-fire questions. They're going to give you really short answers. I've only got about 3 of them, so we'll get to this pretty quick. Brian, I'm going to start with you. 2 or 3 words that describe what is most important in a successful team.
It really comes down to having a really high level of trust with everybody that's part of your team. I know we'll expand on this in a little bit, but I think without that, you don't really have anything else.
Chris, what about you? A couple words on it.
I would say mutual respect, common vision, consistent procedures, and lead by example.
Yeah, we'll dig into common vision. I think it's a good one. 2 or 3 words, and we talked about that. It's going to be fun. 2 or 3 words that reflect the most likely reasons teams fail, which we see not unlike any marriage. We see a high degree of failure rate, obviously, in the team side. So I want to get into that. What are the main reasons that people don't get there?
You need to have a high level of buy-in from every single member on the team, and if you have one person on that team that's not buying in, it has devastating implications for the team. So,
makes sense. Chris?
I would say lack of leadership, accountability, and no common vision.
Yeah, no common vision. What one word or phrase you would hope your clients would use to describe your team to a friend? Chris, I'll start with you.
High integrity, dependable, responsible, providing peace of mind.
Yeah, that's good. Brian?
Yeah, along those lines, I'd like them to think that nobody cares more about their issues, and there's nobody better positioned to help them deal with those issues than our team.
Fantastic. So let's get into a little bit about how you built the practice. Brian, I'm going to start with you. Just get us there. Give us the story.
Yeah.
How did you get to where you are today? Give us a little bit of an idea of the structure you have in your team, and then we'll kind of dive into that more specifically and how you manage it.
Yeah, I mean, there's the beginning is people sitting in this room. You look back at your business. we go back to 1993, it was basically my brother, Jeff, who's sitting right here, and myself, and we were pretty much wearing all the hats. We were doing our own research, we were trying to bring in business. We had one sales assistant, but you know, we were very motivated, we were very focused, and we thought we were doing a great job. But then fast forward about 10 years, we had built up a decent sized business that was respectable on a number of levels, but we also realized that we were becoming more and more taxed and not quite sure if we could actually keep the promises that we were making to this growing business of clients that had increased complexity. So it was probably around 2002 when we created a partnership. And we, at that point in time, brought in 4 other people. We brought in more sales assistants. And later in this conversation, we could talk about maybe why that did not work out so well. Partnerships are hard. Yeah. And some of the things that we were just talking about were not there. And so we kind of evolved. And now, fast forward to the present, we're a team of 11. And we have very distinct roles, but also built-in redundancies. But it's become really a family of people that have very similar values.
Pretty cool. Is it harder having a brother as a partner, or is it easier?
I think everybody would answer that question differently. We love to tell the story. When we decided to do this, about our mom, who was very concerned about destroying this perfectly good friendship. Because we did. We grew up very close. We have a sister. It was a very tight-knit family. But my dad, who's also been very influential in our business, had a lot of confidence that this would work out. And Jeff and I did too. But clearly, there has to be concerns because you're in business with your sibling. But the reason why it has worked so well over so many years is just because, first of all, we were raised by the same parents. We share the same values. We look at things the same way. There's nobody else that I trust more than my brother. And so having that was put us in a position to lay an incredible foundation.
Yeah, it goes back to the original comment about trust, right? You kind of hit on the most important ingredient, and you've kind of got that built in.
100%.
That's great. Chris, let's tell a little bit about your background. Get us up to speed from the beginning into kind of where you are today.
Well, before I do that, you said about breaking the leg. So late Friday afternoon, I received a call from Frank Berlin and RJ Shook. They sounded like they were in a bit of a panic. And they said, look, there's this guy that was supposed to participate in this panel discussion on Wednesday, and he broke his leg. Could you fill in for him? I said, sure. So Frank said, listen, I know it's last minute, you're not able to prepare for this, but we really need to make sure that you're on that panel on Wednesday. So do me a favor, between now and Wednesday, don't break a leg. So I made the mistake of going on Google, and I Googled the phrase break a leg, and it says, it is said it is to wish a performer good luck, and that the expression reflects a theatrical superstition in which wishing a person good luck is considered bad luck. So I'm not superstitious, and I'm sure that Frank didn't mean by wishing me not to break a leg, that he was wishing me bad luck. But anyway, so hopefully all go well. So when I learned that the topic was how to structure the right team, or the right team structure, I have to say, after doing this for 26 years, I don't know that there's any right way to do it. And I don't want to hold ourselves out as having the best way, but in terms of how we operate, our structures of our team is designed around 5 things that we think people are value and willing to pay for. So number 1, we think people are willing to pay for planning. They're willing to pay for a relationship. They're willing to pay for cash flow and decumulation strategies. In other words, making sure they maintain their lifestyle. And we think that they're willing to pay for someone to help their children. And lastly, service. So the 11 folks that we have on our team all have distinct roles and responsibilities that fit those 5 criteria. So for example, on the planning side, in 2003, I made a substantial investment in a woman named Deborah Canty, who had started with the Merrill Lynch Trust Company in 1987, highly educated, undergraduate degree in psychology from Georgetown University, master's from NYU, and she spent 14 years as an estate planning specialist, and in 2001 decided to take a severance from the firm to stay at home and spend some time with her kids. And I said to her, look, do me a favor, before you come back into the workforce, let me be your first call. So over the next 2 years, I was pestered her a bit, and a little bit of a professional nudge, and so in 2003, she decided to work with our group, and soon after joining our team, went on to receive her CFP designation. So she, along with another person on our team, which we can get into a little bit later, Allie, handle all the estate planning, financial planning, insurance work for us.
Great. Wow. So why don't we talk a little bit about team dynamics? So Brian, I'll start with you. So what does specialization mean to you? Obviously, you've got a unique client base, particularly given where you are in proximity being in LA. So talk a little bit about then the roles and how you guys divide up what you do. So a little bit on specialization and a little bit on role definition.
Yeah, so when you look at our 11-person team, there's 4 call partners. These are, this is my brother Jeff, Robert, and Adam, and our responsibilities are obviously to work with the families that come on board. We're all playing equal roles in helping grow the business, but beyond that, each of us have kind of distinct roles and specialties, things that we really love to do. I'm the guy that writes the business plan every year. We do have a detailed working business plan that talks about how we're going to grow our business, how we're going to service our business, our research effort, how we're going to manage our employees, and we think that's really important. I enjoy that part of the business. I also enjoy, servicing some of our larger fiduciary relationships, whether it's a law firm or an accounting firm or a business management firm that manages a lot of the entertainment wealth in Los Angeles. My brother Jeff, he's kind of the resident COO. He really enjoys kind of running the business of the business. He's really good at interfacing with our staff, interfacing, with everybody that's on our team, making sure that they feel empowered, on board, they understand their compensation. He's in charge of the reviews. Every year he's in charge of dealing with our back office and people in New York with regard to all the things that need to happen for a team of 11 people. He also, probably most importantly, services the largest percentage of our business. He's very, very skilled at making somebody feel very comfortable, very patient, very compassionate, empathetic. He's got all those skills. I have some of those skills, but he has a level of patience that I simply sometimes don't have. And he really feels their pain, and they know it. So having that person on our team is huge because it also helps the other people on our team. They're observing how he's doing this. He's a true master at sitting down with a client. He knows how to ask the questions. He knows how to uncover the pain that's really existing within the life of that family. Robert Daly, he's a planner. He was a CFP, very skilled with very complex planning issues. A lot of our clients have had some kind of an event. They sold a business, they sold a lot of stock, they inherited a lot of money. We really kind of sit in the ecosystem of liquidity, and the planning part of our business is really important. So Robert sits on the front lines of that. He's not an attorney, he's not a CPA, but he very much thinks and acts like one. We have a research team. We're very proud of the fact that we have a built-in research capability. Early days, Jeff and I were doing all the calls and all the meetings, and it was fun. We learned a lot. We went and got our SEMA at Wharton, which was great education. But as we grew, we realized what we really like to do is spending time with clients and helping grow our business. So Stan Yang, who's a CFA, came from a $5 billion RIA. We put him in charge, and since him coming on board, we've really built out our research capability. There's 2 other analysts that work underneath him, one of whom was an intern that came up through the ranks with us years ago. Now she's 24 years old, but really bright young person who has a great role on our team. We have a full-time reporting analyst. Our clients like to see data in different ways, and we try to accommodate them within compliance and regulations. So we spend a lot of time on the reporting side. And then we have 3 client service associates, and these are obviously the people that are probably most important because they keep people like us and Jeff and Adam and Robert out of trouble. We have a business to run. We have our roles. It's critical. So that's kind of what the team kind of looks like today. And some of the roles are overlapping, and there's clearly built-in redundancies with our team. I just want to say that 5 years ago we experienced a somewhat devastating situation with a partner who became gravely ill very quickly and unexpectedly in the prime of his life. And thankfully we had a partnership agreement in place. Thankfully we had these built-in redundancies. I was probably on every single meeting that he went on for years, and he was on every meeting with me that I went on for years. So God forbid you know, if something were to happen to somebody, you can kind of keep moving in the right direction. So I think that, you know, that was a blessing.
Yeah, no, that piece makes sense. I mean, you don't see that as much as you think you should, right? As having that built-in redundancy. It's great. Chris, dive a little bit deeper for me. You started going down the path of specialization. You got a planner. Walk us through a little bit more of what else and how does your role fit into that in terms of what you do today versus maybe what you're doing before.
So when I mentioned, thank you, when I mentioned that what we think clients are willing to pay for, so we said relationship, we said planning, cash flow, someone working for kids, and service. So I'll start with the relationship. That's my role. So I always thought that the role of a financial advisor is one part portfolio manager and one part clinical psychologist. Now, I'm not sure which is more important, but in my role as portfolio manager, I'm looking to design an investment strategy that the client can stick with through good markets and bad. The challenge with that is most clients don't know how they're going to react to various market outcomes until they happen. So the idea of matching the behavior of the client to behavior investment is something I work quite a bit on. The second role would be that clinical psychologist part that we all play a role in, which is behavioral coach. In that role, I think you have to have high emotional IQ, right? I think advisors in that role tend to be a little more healthy and stable themselves emotionally. And I think your role in that regard is to make sure the clients do things that don't hurt themselves financially. So when I work with a client, they're looking for me, they want one person that represents the team, Merrill Lynch, Bank of America, and US Trust. They want to feel like we're a small organization within the belly of a very large firm that provides enormous resources and capabilities to help them make sound financial decisions. That's where I spend my time. Zero of my time is spent on operations or administrative issues, and I'm very blessed and fortunate to have a good team where we have these defined roles and responsibilities. So if you think of me as the relationship, we talked about the planning. The third layer would be on the investment side. I have partners, John Ambrose, Will Simay, Michael Spellman, and an analyst, Albert Shee. John's specialty, in addition to each of those gentlemen, John, Michael, and Will, having their own clients that they're responsible for, they also support me. John does support me in the role of sort of our expert on fixed income and structured products. Will's focus is on equities and our investment strategies. And then Albert Shee, our analyst, supports Will in overseeing our investment portfolios as well as all of our performance reports for clients. The unique structure is that you can think of us as four businesses that have somewhat different clients. We have somewhat different styles that operate under the banner of the GCCA group, where we share support staff and collaborate when needed. And I think the last thing I'll say about that on the service side, to your point, that's the most important thing that people will pay for. And we're very blessed. We have 5 very dedicated, hardworking women where they understand that service is not executing a task. It's what Danny Myers, the famous restaurateur, said, service is hospitality. It's how you make people feel. So we think if we combine how we make people feel when we provide service and high trust, which is doing what you say you're going to do, that leads to significant client retention, more business from our existing clients, and we're more referable.
Yeah. Let's, I'm going to stay with you for a minute, Chris. So a couple of questions I had. One is on what lessons have you learned in communicating with your team? I think one of the biggest breakdowns we typically see in a team is just communication failures, right? Making sure everybody's kind of on the same page. And the other one you had mentioned a little bit about is having a common vision and a common why. Walk us through a little bit about how that plays out for you.
Well, I think that for me, I had to learn to do less talking and more listening, right? And let other people control the team meetings and input. And so we do try to get together in terms of communication. The entire team gets together once a week for about 45 minutes and kind of walks through, what's going on, what's the week look like, who we're meeting with. And then we also have a separate meeting with just the financial advisors to cover market environment, investment strategies, things we want to work on with our clients. But I do think it's for me, I had to learn how to let go of control a little bit.
Yeah. And back to you and I had this conversation as well about common vision, common why, how that kind of permeates the team. Get us there and a little bit about the communication you guys have with your team as well.
Sure. Yeah, I'll start with the first part.
Yeah.
We believe, that our team's success is really driven by this idea that we have these shared values. And the values, I'm not talking necessarily just about the traditional values. I mean, certainly I'm talking about integrity and character, but there's other values that we have to share as a team, and these are the things that we really try to embed in everybody's mindset. It has to do with, communication, collaboration. Humility is a big thing. Being on a team is not for everybody. You kind of have to check your ego at the door. We've had experiences where that wasn't the case, and those partnerships did not last too long. So the value thing is huge, not only because if everybody's buying into this idea that we have this shared group of values, in a very mysterious but in a very real way, it translates into how effective your relationships are with your clients, because it's those same values that are part of your team that become part of your communication with your clients. And so, we try to demystify using our values to help these clients make sense out of a very complex business. So when I talk about demystification in this communication, it happens at the group level, but it also happens in our communication with our clients, because these people are tasked with a huge job to find out, who's the best team to help them navigate the rest of their financial life after something big happened. And so, to the extent that we can help bring clarity and transparency to that process, we kind of give them a roadmap and say, hey, look, this is how you should be looking at this important decision. This performance thing and this, this other stuff is going to be obviously important, but any team that's probably sitting at the table at this point is probably qualified to help you. So we really try to get them focused on this value thing, and then we say to them, look, if we can get on the same page, we're going to have the basis for an amazing relationship. As far as communication within our team, we didn't always do this so well. I mean, I think actually coming to this conference over the years has really helped the Summa Group develop and evolve. Because we would sit in these meetings and sit in the big conference room, and everyone would talk about how important the communication was, and that, in fact, the most important meeting you have each week is with your own team. And what we realized is that we were moving around in so many directions so fast that nobody knew what the hell was going on. And so about 3 years ago, after attending this conference, we came back and we started to really think about how we could empower this entire team with a higher level of communication. So, like you said, we do have a Monday morning meeting, like clockwork. It is a religious event in the extent that it has to happen. We can't get through the week without it. It starts at 9 o'clock. It usually goes sometimes a couple of hours, because it's split into two pieces. The first probably 45 minutes of the meeting, the entire team is in there in our conference room, and one of our client service associates has a roster of everything that took place last week and everything that's about to take place in the coming week. We go through each situation. The partner who's the lead on a case starts talking about the family, the relationship, how the meeting went, what the action items are. It's really, it's fun and it's good, and I think everybody feels much more involved in what's going on with the business. We also talk about things that are needed for upcoming meetings. We talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, there's nothing that's barred. Anybody has the ability to share frustrations or things that are on their mind about our business. And then the second half of the meeting is really more research-driven. Analysts are sitting there. We're going through. We probably do 1,000 calls and meetings a year, and we have a lot to talk about. And so it's important for the four guys to understand what happened in the past week and what's happening this week. It's a very important meeting for us to be current with what's going on with client allocations, new managers that are maybe being shown the door. But it's a really, very transparent, collaborative meeting that helps bring the group closer together.
Yeah. There's some great work on, how many have read Simon Sinek's book on Start With Why? I just had a couple hands. If you haven't, take a look at it. He's not the only one. A lot of people have written about why. He's probably one of the more prolific ones out there. I think we were sharing the fact that we both subscribe to it. And as an exercise I've taken my teams through, where it's to try to identify your common why or your common value or vision for your team, and that becomes an anchor for everything else that happens in the group. And I think it's one of those things that can transform a team where you have communication problems or you have dissension or any of those kind of typical issues you'll find in the team. That kind of process allows you to get there, I think, in a more meaningful way, regardless of the roles and regardless of the structure. Again, something just to consider as an idea. Let's shift a little bit to that, specifically talent and talent management and talent identification. So obviously you've got folks in place today How did you find them, and more importantly though, how do you manage and develop now? So one of the challenges with structures I see is you have role players, right? Everyone's got a role player today, but they all have ambitions, right? So how do you feed the ambitions of a team or a teammate as you kind of grow in your business? And so I'm curious of the team development and team management side. Chris, let's start with you.
Well, as far as hiring people, we've just been very fortunate that the only two people we've lost were people who have retired. And I learned pretty early on, I was looking to hire somebody else, let my team hire them.
Yeah, interesting.
So the woman that we just brought on to replace one person on our support staff that just retired 3 years ago, I had each member of the team, first the firm identified through their channels several candidates, and I had each member of the team meet with this person twice before I met with them. So by the end of this process, they felt empowered that they had a say in who was going to be part of our team, and quite frankly, they would be working with them more closely than I would be. And it allowed them also to look at, before we hired this person, their roles and responsibilities. And one exercise I had them go through before we hired this person to replace who had retired is I said, why don't you make a list of everything, this is for the support staff position, why don't you make a list of everything you don't like doing? And they make a list of everything you do like doing. And then we got together, we looked at this list, and so the list of what they didn't like doing became sort of the roles and responsibilities for who we were going to bring on. So therefore, everything they were doing, they enjoyed, they were passionate about, and then we'll run through roles for them.
That's great.
With Debbie, I just got lucky. That I had worked with her as an estate planning specialist, and she and I got along.
Those are great wins.
But so I can't say there was any smart decision I made on my part other than just pursuing her in a very professional way for a couple of years.
Brian, how about you? Team development. Obviously, you got a great team of folks. They obviously added to the team. So what's the journey for them, and how do you manage that?
Yeah, so, it's true that we have role players. We have certain people on the team that are kind of, doing something that's critical to our success, and they're completely satisfied with that, and they're passionate about what they're doing. They're constantly trying to improve, and they're not necessarily interested in becoming me or Jeff or one of the other guys or becoming anything else other than what they are, and that's okay. However, we feel like we're always looking for the five-tool player, and it's not about necessarily what they know right now. It's actually really most about their integrity and whether you can trust that person, because we can teach them the skills, we can't teach integrity, and we always like to live by that, because again, I can't stress enough the importance of doing that. We brought on a new partner in the last 6 months, very excited. He's going to allow us to expand our growth beyond where we are now in a number of ways. He has very similar skill sets. Adam brings with him, a great business. But I think, as a result of being a part of our team, what's most exciting for me is I've mentored and trained a number of people over the years, is the growth that he's going to experience by leveraging off of our infrastructure and our talent. It's really exciting. We have a robust internship program. I don't know, if you have that, Chris. We have an internship program. We get a lot of talent from schools like UCLA and USC and some schools back east, University of Michigan. Families or friends, we always let them know, early in the year, hey, we're going to have 4 slots. It's very exciting for these kids to come in, and we love that. One of our youngest members of the team, she's 24, business student, interned us for 2 straight summers, brought her on a few years ago, and I think she's probably at some point going to evolve into one of us. Yeah. And she's going to have free reign to pretty much do whatever she wants to do, as long as she invests in her craft and wants to to continue to grow as a professional. So you never know where they're going to come from, but our eyes are always open, and when you find talented, dedicated, good people, you want to find a role for them.
Lock them in.
You got to get them. Absolutely.
Gotta lock them in. Stay there for a minute. So maybe you look at over the next 5, 10 years, this whole room is going to be doing exponential business, obviously, just given the demographics and given where the business is going. Not a lot of new people coming in, teams getting bigger, mega teams being created. In fact, there was an article today on mega teams being developed. What do you think your team looks like in the next, let's be a little aggressive, 10 years from now? What do you think about?
Wow. And when I fantasize?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a challenge, because I see, as I attend these conferences, there's so many different business models. I mean, listening to certain people who, you have 55 employees, you got 4 or 5 billion under management, and you've got 4 or 5 offices around the country. I mean, that's an interesting model.
Business, yeah.
Our dream is to grow our business with fewer and larger clients. And what we do every year is we look at the bottom part of our business and we make decisions, and we reallocate those clients to other advisors in our office, and want to make sure they're going to be well taken care of, because we're always concerned about our capacity, and the best way to create capacity is to eliminate people that aren't necessarily a good fit any longer. Maybe they were in the past. Swimming upstream is a huge goal of ours, and that's just a fancy way of saying we constantly are looking to upgrade our relationships with our clients, with the fiduciary relationships that we have. The situations that are coming to us seem to be growing in size, and I think our growth is going to be not explosive in terms of the number of clients, but I think our growth will be very solid with fewer but larger clients. I mean, if we bring on 10 to 15 large new clients a year, we can accommodate that growth. Yeah. And look, if we see an advisor within our firm or somewhere else that we feel can buy into our culture and be excited about leveraging off of our brand and our expertise, we're going to jump on it. Size of our team, I don't know what the size looks like. I mean, we're 11 now, we were 9 6 months ago. Are we 15 3 years from now? I mean, I could see that. Yeah. I could see it. We're not afraid of that, but I think the point is that what we really enjoy is having those intimate, close, high touch, high impact relationships with fewer clients. We don't know that we can do that with an unlimited number of clients.
Yeah. Chris, how about you? Talk a little bit about the next 5 to 10 years. What is your structure of your team begin to look like?
I don't think it's going to get a lot bigger, because I think margin compression, fees are coming down, and our firms are pushing more of that onto us.
Right.
So I want to be very sensitive to that. I don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish, but I don't think it's going to expand much more. But I think it'll probably change in 2 ways. One is I think there'll be more. I would hope there would be more younger people on the team, because we're all old. We don't have, so we really need somebody to deal with the next generation. Number one. And number two, and I don't want to stereotype, my experience with Debbie, now she's a planner, but she's an equity partner. I think women are underrepresented in this business, and I think they're far superior than men are in this business. I think they have better listeners, they're more empathetic, and they're more planning oriented. And I will tell you, in meetings that I've had with prospects and clients, it is such a different dynamic to have Debbie in that meeting, where at the end of it she'll tell me, did you realize the body language you were giving his wife? I had no idea. But it's improved me in so many ways that I think that I will be very conscious that if I can pass along one thing that I've learned is if you can bring a female on in a non-support role, a partner role, that has changed my business dramatically. So if Debbie ever retires, I'll be looking for somebody to replace her to be my partner.
Yeah, smart. No, I mean, I've done hundreds and hundreds of meetings with advisors, and that piece is probably the most important one. It's fascinating how the spouse inevitably makes the decision, usually not in the room. It's usually after they left.
That's exactly right.
And it's fascinating. Why don't we take a few minutes and go to the audience and see if we have any questions. I've got a few hands going up. I said first hand over here, so we'll start with you.
What's your take on the ICOs of the world, where they're starting to kind of fix price some of the planning services to compete against some of the percentage of the price, asset under management, where you might lock in a $15,000 for C-suite. The executives just do all the planning and stuff versus us charging a percent on 10 million, 15 million. And then every year, they're like one time,
Right.
and the company's paying for it. So it's like, that's a competitive, that's a rising, like a retainer fee or a one-time fee.
Yeah, so I'll repeat
percentage ongoing costs.
I'll repeat the question for the group. So the question was retainer-based relationships, which is a hard dollar cost to the client versus a fee-based or a asset-based ongoing fee. Any thoughts on that for you guys?
I mean, I can speak for the Suma Group. Obviously they're paying us to manage their money. That's how we get paid. But the dynamics of the relationships reach so far beyond that. And we always tell people, you're probably going to hire us because you think we're going to do a good job managing your money, but the thing that's going to make them clients for life is our ability to connect with them on a completely different level and to address the things that are truly keeping them up at night. And it has nothing to do with whether we're earning them, 7% or 8% or 10%. It's about whether we're helping them check those boxes, which are sometimes really important to them, much more important. So, as far as hard dollar fees versus what we do, I mean, we want to get the client focused on the bigger picture. Our planning capability is all built in. They don't pay for it. We think it's just a necessary and very natural part of the process of understanding how we're going to actually invest their money. So I don't know if that helps you.
Yeah, it's just how you're looking down the road
Yeah.
at the pricing and the compression fees. That's why it's.
Let's go next question. It's still.
Oh, yeah, so the question I have is, when you're looking to bring someone on, how do you determine who gets equity and how much, or versus who is income oriented, who's a salary orientation or a salary plus bonus?
Got it. You guys look at that?
For me, there's hunters and farmers. If you're a hunter, you get equity. If you're a farmer, you're a fixed cost.
That's
Right now, the problem is sometimes you hire farmers that think they're hunters, and they want to be paid like hunters. And you have to have a conversation that they're not, which is not always a pleasant conversation to have. But that's a challenge. Continues to be.
Any addition for you, Brett?
I know just that, we do have a couple people on our team where they're intrigued with the idea of helping the group grow. I think once they get in there and get out there, they realize how truly difficult it is. It is a skill that many of you have mastered, but it is just not something that's easily done. However, we do have a plan for anybody on our team who's licensed to participate in a revenue stream if they bring in something that's interesting for the team and that makes sense. I mean, it's fine. It doesn't take a whole lot. They do want that knowledge, and we're happy to help them do that. But again, I totally agree with Chris in terms of the delineation between people in our business and the hunters and the gatherers. There's a line in the sand there for sure.
Can you go a little deeper on that part about the bonus structure that for someone who brings clients in?
Actually, no. We give them. I think we might give them 25% of the revenue stream in perpetuity as long as they're part of the team. It's not a kind of a bonus structure. We don't want to get into a situation like that. We're much more comfortable saying, hey, look, you brought this in, and we want you to participate, and this is the number. That's pretty much how it works. It's pretty simple. On that client.
Any other questions? One right here.
Hi, more and more of our business is surrounded by technology or impacted by technology. Can you talk a little bit about how you're integrating technology into your practice with the people that you have? And also thinking forward, how do you separate the responsibilities with technology for that next generation versus the people that may have been with you for a longer time that don't have that same skill set?
You're asking the wrong guy, I'm like a dinosaur. I'm just trying to figure out LinkedIn. I'm the guy that rolls up on the horse and buggy and somebody's driving by in a Tesla.
You sent me something on a BlackBerry, right?
So that's part of the reason I mentioned earlier about bringing somebody on who's younger.
Yeah.
That just comes natural to them. But there is one person on our support staff that is pretty technically savvy that has been charged with the role of bringing you up to speed on LinkedIn, figuring out how we want to use it to gather more assets from existing clients and referrals and that sort of thing. And also a lot of our website design but again, I'm probably not the best person to ask that question. It's a good question.
Anything to add?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying this just because she's sitting in the front row, but we brought on somebody a couple years ago. The firm, probably one of the best hires they've made in years, and Joan Corey directs our communications, social media, branding for the firm, and she's on the front of all that stuff. So having that kind of a resource is huge for our team. That happens in New York, but we interface with Joan on a regular basis, helping us with our branding and our communications, and it's been upgraded in a profound way because we weren't always right there where we needed to be. At the group level, we have a partner who just loves technology, Robert Daly. He is immersed in it. He's always looking at the next greatest aggregation software capability so we can see financial assets for clients regardless of where the assets are physically held or what type of entity holds those. And from the standpoint of marketing, we're on the cutting edge of that. I mean, we're doing some very interesting stuff with LinkedIn and artificial intelligence that is pretty powerful. But you know, as far as CRM, I'd say we have a lot of work to do there. I think we're in the dark ages still with regard to how we're making that work in a seamless way where we don't have to do a whole lot. But we think that in the next 5 years is going to be huge. I don't really know what our firm is doing on that level, but I think we're looking at a bunch of stuff.
Why don't we, we're going to hold it there for questions. I have one last question for both of you quickly. One key takeaway for our great audience today on considerations for a team, whether management, development, or structure over the next 2 to 3 years.
Hire a female.
That's a good one. Stick to it.
I would say that one of the most important things that you folks can do as you look at your team is to really make sure that the person that's coming on board has the right levels of integrity and character, and if you do that, then you're just going to continue to flourish. And along those lines, again, I've said this earlier, but when you have that, then you have a buy-in at a very, very high level, and so you don't get that by accident. It only happens when you have the right people on the arc, and so never compromise, and always know that skill can be taught, but those other things cannot be taught.
So not to contradict the title of the session, but I would say mine would be have a common why for your team. It doesn't matter what structure you have, but if you all agree on the common vision, the structure will work itself out, because then you can get people into the right places if you learned up here in today's panel. So please, be happy Vance and myself, please join me in thanking our partners today.